Ladies, gentlemen, Andy here. I coach men and women on living lives of abundance and joy. If we can all do it, you sure as hell can too. I am on day 40 of my 365-day project. I've been keeping a little Google spreadsheet, which I'll leave a link in the description if any of you are interested. You can see like all the bits of content that I've done. I've done a fair few YouTube videos, some podcasts, some Instagram posts, and like photo shoots and stuff like that. Done a couple of live streams. Interesting enough, I haven't done an article in the entire last 40 days. I don't write as much on my blog, but there's quite a few articles over there. If you haven't checked out my blog in a few months, there'll be some new stuff over there, just not in the last 40 days. So you can check this out if you're interested. Maybe we'll just do a little update video. I haven't drunk alcohol in about 40 days. I started that at the same time as I started this project. Before that, I'd previously gone 2.5 years without drinking, and then I drank for about 2 or 3 months, and that was a lot of fun. But then I thought, I'm done with alcohol again. So probably going to have another year of no alcohol, cutting out caffeine, cutting out porn and all that sort of stuff. Still playing a bit of video games, but doing a little bit less of that. So spending most of my time here with you lovely people. Which brings me to this question that I got on a recent video, or this comment that I got on a recent video. I thought we'd go through this because this is a very, very, very common thing, particularly in men's self-improvement channels, which I guess is what you could call me. I am a man and this is a self-improvement channel, but my content isn't obviously just for men. Something like 20% of the audience is female. I just checked. Currently, it's about 16.8% of the audience are female. So hello, all you ladies. So obviously, I do content for women as well. I have Imogen, my girlfriend, on the channel as well. But I could see how you might compare me to maybe some men's self-improvement channels. And one thing, or quite a few things, but one thing in particular that we do a little bit differently here in this community compared to some of the other men's self-improvement or men's, sex and dating channels is that we focus here on a lot more what you might call spiritual truths, or we focus more on you being happy and adding to the lives of other people around you and you being present and enjoying the now instead of focusing on the future as your source of happiness. A lot of men's self-improvement channels will sort of sell you the idea that if you get all the girls in the entire world to sit on your penis, and if you make all the money in the world and have the Lamborghini and all of that, then somehow you'll suddenly be happy. And what I have come to see in my own life is that happiness is not out there. It's not found in some external thing, like if I get the girl and I fall in love, then I'll be happy. Or for some of you women listening, if I can just find a man that will love me, then I'll be happy. No, happiness comes from within. Hence, one of my favorite books, I Need Your Love, Is That True? How to Stop Seeking Love, Approval, and Appreciation and Start Finding Them Instead. And this is one of my favorite books of all time by Byron Katie. The entire point of this book is love isn't out there. Happiness isn't out there. It's not found in a Lamborghini. It's not found in somebody else. I know that Hollywood and books and a lot of men's self-improvement, a lot of women's self-improvement advice will tell you that happiness is found in another person. No. Happiness is found in yourself, and then you give that happiness or that love to that other person. You share in that love with that other person. Understand that I am not happy, or the reason that Andy, me, is happy is not because I have had a lot of sex or because I have Imogen and she's been in my life for 6 years. If Imogen was to leave me tomorrow, I would be exactly as happy and fulfilled and full of love as I am right now. How? Because I have come to see and I have come to realize that happiness and love are within me or within you. How do you start that process? Obviously, start with this book. That's a really good place to start with. Her other book, Loving What Is another really good one. That's this book here, and that teaches you to fall in love with the current moment. In other words, to live in reality rather than living in the future and saying, I'll be happy when. As in, I'll be happy when I get a Lamborghini. I'll be happy when I have more sex. I'll be happy when I get laid. I'll be happy when I have a better body. No, be happy now while you also work on those things. And to be very clear, having a Lamborghini can be an incredibly beautiful thing if it's something that is meaningful to you. Having a lot of money can be a beautiful thing. Having a lot of sex can be a beautiful thing, but those things in and of themselves are not going to permanently scratch that itch that people call the search for happiness. Happiness is within. It's realizing, oh shit, I was allowed to be happy the entire time. I just put conditions on my happiness. I told myself I wasn't allowed to be happy until I reached the goal. I told myself I wasn't allowed to be good enough, to call myself good enough, until I had more than other people. Like I had to climb some hierarchy or something just to find some self-worth. No, self-worth can be available or is available to you right now. How do you help with this stuff, or what can help with this stuff? A lot of the exercises that I talk about and that I give to all of my coaching clients, they're mandatory exercises for my coaching clients, like saying I love you to yourself in the mirror every single day. I've done that for the last 2.5 years. That's a really good way to feel more love in your life. If you want other people to love you, why don't you fucking go first? Do the thing that you're wanting other people to do. Love yourself first. The second thing that can really help is to write a list of 50 things about yourself that are likable. That really helps you feel a bit of self-love and a bit of self-worth. And so you feel the happiness first, and then you share that with other people. So let's go back to this wonderful question, or this wonderful comment that someone left on my channel. He said, this video, so he's talking about another video that I made, did a great job for helping me slow down a bit and realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm constantly fighting the voice in the back of my head that says, you could be doing something more productive with this time. And you're already in your late 20s and you're not an ultra successful billionaire with multiple beautiful wives and lifting huge weight at less than 10% body fat. You better hurry up, you're running out of time. Yes, that is the great lie that humanity has sold itself, or you could say the ego tells itself, since the dawn of time. If I have more, I'll be happy. If I have a successful, happy family with wives and money and great body fat and all of that, then I'll be happy. But what happens is something called the hedonic treadmill. You can look that up if you're interested. It's also known as moving the goalposts. What will happen is you will become a fucking millionaire, which I think for a lot of us, you say to yourself, if I just had $1 million, I would be happy. No, what happens is if you thought the $1 million was going to be the ticket to your happiness and the thing that would magically make you happy, what will happen is you'll make $1 million and then you'll say, holy fuck, Elon Musk has $200 billion. And so does Jeff Bezos and a bunch of other people. Well, they have close to that. My $1 million is pathetic. It's nothing compared to them. And I've upgraded my lifestyle with this $1 million, but holy shit, I could upgrade it even more if I had $10 million. And so now you have something else to be unhappy about or not good enough because you compare yourself to other people, something to feel unworthy about. And so you chase that $10 million. You go really hard. You spend the next, 5 years, 10 years working towards that. You make your $10 million and that upgrades your life a little bit more. But now you see someone that has $100 million or $1 billion. Or by this point, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos have gone so far beyond your, pathetic little $10 million. Not that it's pathetic, but you think that it is. And then you go, fuck, I'm still not good enough. Maybe I'd be happy if I had more sex. You go out and you have sex with 200, 300 women, or hell, even just 50 women, and even just freaking 3 women. And you go, that's not good enough. Other people on the internet are having sex with 17 women every millisecond, and I'm not. And they're having threesomes, and Andy's having threesomes, and he's got a beautiful girlfriend, and they're having threesomes together, and they're doing BDSM, and fuck, I'm not good enough. And then you compare yourself to other people and say there's more that you have to do. And this rat race, or this being in a hamster wheel, continuously spinning your wheels, can go on forever. Again, it's called the hedonic treadmill, otherwise known as moving the goalposts. It's just the way that the mind works. Your brain thinks that it will be happy if you have the next thing. But if you believe that lie, or if you dedicate yourself to that lie of I will be happy when, as in I will be happy when I achieve this next goal, if you procrastinate and delay your happiness, that will go on forever. You are building a habit of not being happy. You are literally building a habit of telling yourself you're in scarcity. You are literally building scarcity mindset every time you say, I will be happy when. I will be happy when I achieve that goal. I will be happy when I have more sex or get laid or lose my virginity. I will be happy when I have enough money to, support myself and my family. No, happiness starts now. Happiness is available to every single one of you, every single one of us. We just tell the lie sometimes that I'm not allowed to be happy because other people have more than me or I don't have enough. You have enough. There is enough. There is infinite abundance for all of us right now in this moment if you focus on what you do have instead of what you don't have. If you focus on what you do have, you'll always have abundance. If you focus on what you don't have, you'll always have scarcity. So abundance mentality is exactly that, a mentality. It is a focus. It is what you focus on. If you look around your life, you look around the environment that you're in right now, the room that you're sitting in, or maybe you're outside going for a walk while you listen to this, look at all of the things or notice all of the things that you can be grateful for, all of the abundance that you have in your life. Most of you probably have friends, and if you don't, that's okay. You can make some friends. So even if you don't have friends, you at least have the opportunity to make friends. That's a little bit of abundance. You probably have some money. If you don't, that's okay. You have the potential to walk up to other people and ask them for money. So there is infinite money around you. You just have to ask for it. And maybe you tell yourself you're too good to ask for it, but the money's out there. Homeless people literally just sit there and say, can I have money? Or some of them don't even ask for money, and yet they still are given money. There is abundant money out there. You just haven't been asking for it. There are friends out there. There is sex out there. You just have to ask for it. There is an infinite number of things that are currently supporting you right now. There's electricity that you don't do anything to contribute to other than, I guess you could say, paying your taxes. So that's a contribution. That's a beautiful contribution. But like, you're not sitting there in the power plant, most of you. If you are, like, hey, I hope you're having fun in the power plant. But most of you aren't in the power plant generating the electricity. Other people are doing that for you. You are being supported by hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people just keeping the lights on for you and the electricity and the internet so that you can listen to my voice here today from across the entire planet. I'm here supporting you and all of the other people on the internet or in books or in movies or TV shows or podcasts that support you and want you to have a happy, wonderful, amazing, beautiful, spiritual, if that's something that's interesting to you, life. All those people are there for you and supporting you. So that's some abundance. You have an abundance of love, even though a lot of you will tell yourself, no, I don't. I don't have a woman that loves you. One of my very close friends right now is literally believing that lie. He's going through that story right now. He's saying, a girl that I love doesn't want to be with me. And I've loved her for like 5 years and I don't have love. I can't find someone that's in love with me. Why is it so hard for me to find someone that's in love with me? And it's okay to believe that lie. Most people do. But he has love. I love him. His family loves him. Lots of other women in his life have given him plenty of love. He just didn't really notice it. Or he said it didn't count because it wasn't deep romantic love. But love is all around all of us right now. And so you have an abundance of love. You have an abundance of food. The vast majority of us don't ever have to think about food. Yes, sometimes you might need to eat ramen noodles or rice. I've been through that. I went through 3 years of that when I first started my self-improvement journey. I didn't have much money. In fact, I had negative money. I took out a bank loan so that I could move to the center of my city because I was so dedicated to building everything that I've built today, working on my self-improvement, building my sex life and all of that sort of stuff. And so I didn't have much money. I didn't have very much money at all. But guess what? I survived. I had more than enough money to buy my ramen noodles and my rice. I was supported and I had an abundance of food. Most of us live in Western countries or civilized countries. If you live in a third world nation, you probably wouldn't be listening to my podcast. But if you live in a first world nation or a second world nation, if those exist, you have an abundance of supermarkets and different stores where you can buy different foods and all of that. And my point is, if you look around you, there is an abundance around you. It's just very easy to say none of that counts. That's just the bare minimum. That stuff doesn't count, Andy. I don't count brotherly love or you telling me on a video that you love me. That's not love. I don't count that. It's like, okay, that is the hedonic treadmill in action. That is your proof that you will discard or ignore or not focus on or push under the carpet and push away all of the abundance that you have in your life right now, what do you think is going to happen when you have a ton of money? You'll say the same thing. It doesn't count. It's just the bare minimum. It's not good enough. I need to be a billionaire. Maybe I should go. There are no shoulds, but I would like to go full screen while I have this conversation with all of you, so you don't have to look at the tiny little video in the corner. But you will just do the same thing. You will have all the money and you'll push it aside and say it doesn't count. It's not enough. You will have all the sex that you could ever imagine and say it's not enough. It doesn't count. I need to have more sex. I need to have more sexual experiences. And this is part of the journey that I went through. I told myself the lie that most people tell themselves, when I get over my depression, then I'll be happy and I'll be fulfilled for the rest of my life. When I learn to socialize and move past my agoraphobia, then I'll be happy for the rest of my life and everything will be perfect. When I eventually get a decent job, everything will be happy and I'll be perfect and I won't ever have to worry about anything. If I could just have a bit of sex and have a woman love me or care about me, then I'll be happy and I won't have to worry about anything. If I can have more sex, then I won't have to worry and everything will be fine. If people on the internet, strangers on the internet, just give me a pat on the back and tell me that I'm a cool, worthy, amazing person who can get laid and that they respect me, then I'll magically be happy. If I could just earn $1 from my website and my content, then I would be happy. If I could earn $1,000 a month from my content, then I'd be happy. If I could earn $5,000 a month, if I could pay the bills, then if I could pay Imogen's bills as well, then I'd be happy. If I could pay Imogen's and my own bills and Cam's bills, then I'd be happy. If I just had more coaching clients, then I'd be happy. I have these same voices in my head. I've just learned to not believe them. And that's taken a lifetime of dedication to the present. Dedication to abundance mentality, as in realizing that there is abundance right now and being grateful for it. It's taken a lifetime of dedication to gratitude. I am a lover, as Byron Katie would say, of what is. I love the present moment, even if my brain wants to tell me that the present moment isn't good enough. Even if my brain wants to say you'd be happier if you had more money. And again, I have those stories that all of you have in your head. My story right now, the little story in my brain that's very tempting to believe, but I don't believe it. But the very tempting story is I would be happier if I had more consistency with my coaching business. If I didn't have to worry about doing content every day and pushing, the coaching and bringing a lot of you into coaching so I can pay the bills and Cam's bills and Imogen's bills. If I didn't have to worry about that, if you all just came to the coaching without any effort, like you just showed up and were like, hey, what's up? Here's some money. Then I'd be happy. That's the current temptation that I've had that story for like 4 years. That story's been in my head. I just don't believe it because I know that it's not true. I'll get very consistent with the business. And I could even say right now, the business is very consistent. I have paid the bills and Imogen's bills for the last 3 years. I've paid half of Cam's bills for the last 2 years. I've paid my own bills for the last, 4 years or something. It is consistent. The business is consistent. I'm literally doing an amazing, we're doing amazing. Everything's great. But there's that little temptation that says, yeah, but it's not good enough. I'd be happier if I earned $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 every single fucking month. Then I'd be happier. And then it would change to $100,000. And then I'd hear of some guy who earned $1 million in a month. And I'd go, fuck, I wish I could do that. And then one of my old mentors, he earned $3 million in one day doing basically the same stuff that I do, like coaching people and selling coaching programs and stuff like that. He earned $3 million in one day. And so my brain would say, fuck, I'm not good enough until I earn $3 million in one day. And then I'd do that and I'd go, yeah, but Alex Hormozi earns way more than that. And then Jeff Bezos earns way more than that. And then Elon Musk is earning more than that. And I would just keep moving the goalposts. And so to be very clear, happiness is not some external thing. External things can add a little bit of happiness. They can be a beautiful thing to participate in, but they in and of themselves are not going to bring you happiness. What will is the gratitude for those things, enjoying the journey, gratitude for the journey, focusing on what you do have, enjoying the present moment rather than saying right now isn't good enough. So to be very clear again, to really underline this, yes, go and fucking have a mansion. Go and have a Lamborghini. Go and have a whole bunch of sex with a whole bunch of wonderful, beautiful, interesting people. Go make the world a better place through philanthropy and entrepreneurship and helping others and being nice to people and smiling and all of that stuff. All the goals that all of you have. Get that 10% body fat. Do all of that. But be grateful for every moment of that journey. Be grateful for every day that you wake up and have the opportunity to work on that thing. Don't wake up every day and say, I'm unhappy because I haven't done it yet. It's not good enough until I do it. That is a lifetime of suffering. That is a lifetime of unhappiness. And as I hinted at before, you're literally training yourself to be ungrateful. You are training yourself to be unhappy. You are telling yourself that happiness is some procrastinated thing that maybe one day I will stop procrastinating, but you won't. I can't say you won't, but eventually you'll probably have the same realization that I've had and a billion other, spiritual people have had. And psychologists will tell you, this is a very well-known psychology thing about how the brain works. Again, it's called the hedonic treadmill, and it's about procrastinating your happiness and just moving the goalposts and keep pushing them further and further back. You will play that game forever. Millions or billions of people have played that game forever. It is the default state of the human brain to push your happiness back and put your happiness on some external thing, whether it's love, whether it's sex, whether it's money, whether it's a Lamborghini, a better body, whatever it is. But happiness is available to all of us right now if you can be grateful. I really, 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 really recommend all of you grab the Play to Win video course that I made. Everything that I'm talking about here today is a huge fucking part of my Play to Win video course. Literally, it's called How I Built a Winner's Mindset, and a huge portion of it is about gratitude and being grateful for what you have and not delaying your happiness until you achieve a goal. And yes, you set some goals because it's so much fun participating in goal setting and the journey to get there, and then the eventual achievement and sharing that with others and making your life and other people's lives better, lifting up humanity, lifting up the world. All of that is beautiful and fun. Goals are amazing. Lamborghinis can be a beautiful thing. Money can be a beautiful thing. Sex can be an incredibly beautiful thing. But you have fun along the way. That's the whole point of this video course. And this, what I'm showing you on the screen, is the second last chapter of my Play to Win video course. Look at what it's called: self-reflection, mindfulness, and gratitude. And look at the bit in the brackets: how to not move the goalposts. This entire chapter is about everything that I've just talked about here today, the hedonic treadmill, moving the goalposts. I literally made an entire chapter, a massive chapter, about how to be grateful so that you can enjoy the process and how to not suffer and how to not move the goalposts. Look, I literally talk about it. Moving the goalposts is the tendency that humans have where we say, I'll be happy when I achieve this next goal. We achieve that goal, and then we don't take the time to properly celebrate it or to feel gratitude. We end up feeling empty or like we're missing something. So we say, maybe this goal wasn't enough. Maybe I need to achieve more. Maybe the next goal will make me happy. And it's like we scored a goal and then moved the goalposts back, saying that goal didn't count, hence why it's called moving the goalposts. Some people go their entire lives like this, constantly chasing the next big milestone, but perpetually dissatisfied, never feeling good enough, never feeling like they have enough, never feeling like they are enough. This can feel like a feeling of emptiness, and in some cases full-blown depression, and in some cases suicide, or just a complete apathy towards life, a giving up on life. I've seen people that I've coached feel like this. They feel burnt out with their goals. They feel like, what's the point? I had a threesome, but I'm not happy. One of the best examples was one of my guys, Renee, who I did a video with on my channel, and he had a threesome. And this was something, when he came to the coaching program, he'd only ever had sex with like 2 women. And so the idea of having a threesome was mind-blowing to him. He had a threesome. It was an amazing experience. And then the very next day, he was unhappy, and he made a long post in the group about how, he needs to have more sex and he's not doing a good enough job and he's not taking advantage of the coaching program and he's not pushing himself enough. And I hit the big pause button and said, Renee, my friend, pause. Buddy, you just had a threesome yesterday. And today you're saying you're not good enough or that's not good enough. If you can't be happy after having a threesome, which is something that the vast majority of men never even contemplate could even be possible. It's something that they've seen in porn and they dismiss it. I never thought that I could ever have a threesome. Me, Andy. I never thought that was something that any man could do at all. I said, if you can't be happy after a threesome, when are you going to be happy? If this isn't good enough, what is good enough? And that was a huge epiphany for him. He basically had a breakdown, like a good breakdown, a breakdown of the barriers, a breakdown of the barriers to happiness, a breakdown of the hedonic treadmill. And he paused and he went and thought about it for a while. And he came back and he said, oh my God, you guys are right. Yeah. If I can't be happy after this, nothing's going to make me happy. And then he pivoted, which a lot of my coaching clients do. This is kind of one of my goals with the coaching program. He pivoted to, I'm going to make happiness my focus, or the thing I devote myself to. And he devoted himself to gratitude. He devoted himself to building connections with other people rather than just getting a notch count or getting laid. He devoted himself to love and to enjoying that and experiencing that and sharing that, sharing love of your hobbies, love of other people, love of sex, love of connection, love of obviously yourself. And he dedicated himself to that. And he felt a lot more joy and a lot more peace. And you can see that in the video that I did with him on my YouTube channel. Just search for Rene, R-E-N-E, on my YouTube channel. And this is something that most of my clients go through. The whole point of my coaching program is to basically say, yeah, I see that you've got these goals. That's awesome. Sure, I'll help you with these, but that's easy. It's not difficult to achieve goals. I know it might feel like it, but trust me, it's really not fucking difficult, especially not in the coaching program. So unbelievably, ridiculously easy because you're surrounded by me and 3 other coaches that will constantly push you. You have all the other members of the coaching program as well, like all the clients pushing each other as well. You have like every opportunity to succeed. You've put down a bunch of money, so you take it more seriously. Like, it's easy to achieve goals. So the whole point of the coaching program is not to help people achieve goals, even though that's what you think it is. It's to show you that you're allowed to be happy while you work on those goals, while you work towards progress, while you work towards that achievement and that success and all of that. The whole point of the coaching program is to show you that you're allowed to be happy now. And you're allowed to enjoy the journey. You don't have to play this game of the hedonic treadmill, waiting until you achieve some big metric or some big milestone, and then you're allowed to be happy. No, fuck that. Achieve that big milestone, achieve that big metric. Those things are fucking beautiful. I am so unbelievably grateful for all the big things that I have in my life. All the threesomes, all the sex, all the money, all the coaching, at this point, 1,500 pieces of content that I've been able to make over the last 4 or 5 years across this channel, my podcast, my blog, my email list, all of that. I'm so grateful for all of that. I'm grateful for the city that I live in, this beautiful apartment that I have. I'm grateful for this nice, expensive microphone that you see right in front of me. This thing costs to buy all the bits and pieces that you need for this costs like $1,200 or something, which might not seem like an incredible amount, but for a guy that was very poor and had to eat ramen noodles for a long time, for like several years, having a piece of, like a microphone like this, just for a cute little podcast that I do that costs several $1,000s by the time I add the camera and I have some nice lights here. And my setup isn't that expensive, but the point is, I'm fucking grateful for that. I have a lot of beautiful things in my life that I'm very grateful for. And it wasn't those things that made me happy. It was the gratitude for those things that made me happy. And if I don't have those things, I will be equally as happy. Because again, there are so many things in my life right now that I could say I don't have. I don't have ultra consistent income where I don't ever have to think about money. I think about money constantly, every day. How can I make sure I can pay my bills and Imogen's bills and Cam's bills? I have responsibility there. I'm thinking about money constantly. It would be great to not have to think about that. And I could delay my happiness and say, I'll be happy when I don't have to worry about that. Right now, I don't have an elite body. I don't have low body fat. I'm probably at 19% body fat. I did a video on this recently. I could say I'm not allowed to be happy till I do that. Right now, Imogen and I have 2 women that we're seeing. And I could say, oh, but we need 3 women. We need 4 women. I need to have an orgy every week. I could make up reasons to be unhappy. But I choose to focus on the things that I do have, the gratitude, the love, the friends, all of that. And again, if you don't have those things, you have the opportunity for those things. So that's something to be grateful for. But I am happy because I focus on the gratitude. So anyway, This video course, the Play to Win video course, like I said, covers everything that I'm talking about here today. I have even made this available to all of you, even if you don't have much money. You can pay whatever you would like for it. It's pay by donation. If you want to give me a big batch of money, I would be very grateful. But you can pay $1 for this. So I have literally made it available even if you don't have much money, because I think some of the stuff in here, I don't want it to be hidden behind a paywall, particularly this chapter, the gratitude one, how to not move the goalposts. And this is obviously something I'm going to cover for free on my YouTube channel, like I am right here in this video, a ton more times in the future. It's one of the big spiritual principles, or the big happiness principles, the big psychology principles, being happy, being grateful right now in this moment. So I'll leave a link to the Play to Win video course if you're interested in that. And then let's cover the last little bit of this guy's comments. So the second paragraph there, I have this odd sense of urgency. It's not odd, my friend. It's called fear of death. That's not very odd. That's what literally everybody else on the entire planet is afraid of as well, until you let go of that. Some things that can help you let go of that is Byron Katie's book, like Loving What Is. A lot of David Hawkins's books help literally with fear of death. I would start with this book, Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender. It helps a lot with fear of death. But I would read all of his books if you're interested. If you like this book here, then, go on and read the rest. He's written like 15 books, and I've read so far 7 of them. I'm still on the journey of reading the rest of them. His stuff is absolutely amazing. I have also covered fear of death in my Play to Win video course. I actually have a chapter on overcoming fear, and I talk a little bit about it in there. And there's some techniques and stuff you can do for your fear of death. Because understand that the question that you have written here, I have this sense of urgency. That is your fear of death coming out. You're afraid that one day you'll die and you won't have gotten everything done that you wanted to get done. If you also search on my channel, just search for the word death, and you'll see I did this video here, Are You Afraid of Death? And I literally covered the fear of death, And this one here, Are You Scared of Dying with Regrets? Which is essentially what your fear is here. I'm worried that I'll run out of time and I won't get everything done. That book, or this video here, I would go through this one, How to Make Peace with Death. After you've watched those 2 videos and grabbed my Play to Win video course and done the chapter on fear, because I literally talk about techniques in the chapter on fear in the Play to Win video course. And then after you've read this book, Letting Go, which helps a lot. And then I would read Byron Katie's books as well, Loving What Is, that helps a lot with fear of death. But after all of that, if you still want a little bit more, you don't have to do all of that, to be very clear, but if you go through all of that and you think, okay, I still think I want to tackle this fear of death, because when we embrace our fear of death, or when we're no longer afraid of death, then we can start to really live. Understand that the vast majority of human beings on this planet have an insane fear of death. And I say it's insane because it is a little insane to be afraid of the thing that is inevitable. Is that not insanity? And so if you can clear up your fear of death, David Hawkins says, let's get that cleaned up. Let's get in there, have that fear of death cleaned up, and then you can get to work with living. When you handle your fear of death, which for some of you might take 6 months, might take a year, might take 5 years, however long it takes, get that cleaned up, and then you can start to really live. When you no longer fear life, then you can start to participate in it. But so many people fear life. It's why you fear rejection, you fear heartbreak, you fear something bad happening, you fear being all alone. Like your fear of rejection, if you're afraid of walking up to a woman on the street saying, hi, you're cute, it's because you're afraid that she'll reject you, and then society will reject you, and then you'll never find a woman, and you'll end up alone, and then you'll die alone. It's a fear of death. Basically, every fear can be traced back to a fear of death. If you ask yourself, and then what happens? So if you say, I'm afraid of losing my job, ask yourself, and then what happens? Or, and then what am I afraid of? I'm afraid I won't get another job. And then what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid then I'll never get a job and I'll be homeless. And then what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of dying homeless, like someone stabbing me, or me just dying an unhappy old man death. Okay, so you're afraid of death. So get that fear of death cleaned up. Another book that can really help with this is this book here. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And this can help you sort of like think about death and the fact that it's inevitable. And finally, something that I actually made a YouTube post about recently is this game. It's called Spiritfarer. And Imogen and I just finished this game a couple of days ago, and it was quite literally, I would say, a life-changing game. I cried probably fucking 50 times, either while playing this game or after, while thinking about it. And when I say crying, I mean in a beautiful way. This game, it even literally says there in the very first tagline, Spiritfarer is a cozy management game about dying. It is literally a game about death, and it's probably the most beautiful game that I've ever played. And when I say beautiful, like, it obviously looks pretty beautiful. It's quite a beautiful little game, but like, when I say beautiful, like, look at that. It's graphically very beautiful, but I mean beautiful in terms of the content and the topics and the characters in it and the message. The entire point of this game is that death doesn't have to be scary. Death can be this beautiful, inevitable thing. And all of the different characters in the game, I do not want to spoil this game for any of you, but there are different characters in the game, and it is your job to essentially ferry them to the afterlife. It's your job to essentially love them in their final moments as they die, almost like you're a nurse in a palliative care or an end-of-life home where you're helping people die, or being there for them as they pass on. And it is probably the thing that I would recommend above everything else that I just said. The only reason that I didn't say this first is that it might take you about 50 hours to pass. It took me and Imogen, we played it together. You can play it multiplayer, like it's a 2-player game or a 1-player game. We played it together, we passed it together. It took us about 50 hours. So I don't normally recommend media that takes 50 hours to complete, because I know some of you will, not want to play something that long, and fair enough. But this is probably, if you really want to get in there and start working on your fear of death, this game and the other books that I mentioned is where I would start. And by the way, if any of you end up playing this game, it starts out very simple, is how I would phrase it. And you might think there isn't very much to the game. And you might think, it even says here, it's just a cozy management game. It's a fun little platformer. It's a fun little, like, open world. No, it is open world. It's kind of open world. It's just kind of small. You might think it's just a casual little cozy open world game. It's kind of fun. You can't die. Your character can't, like, there's no boss battles, there's no, like, death, there's no failure. That's what I'm trying to say. There is death in the game, obviously, because the characters die and move on, but, like, you can't fail. Like, it's a very, like, chill game. And so you might think in the first, 30 hours of playing it, I know what this game is about, there's not much to it. But no, it has a fucking plot twist, probably about 75% of the way through the game. It's quite late in the game. You've already sunk about 40 hours into the game by that point. And there's this huge, huge twist that changes the entire game. Everything you thought about the game changes in that moment. And you're like, holy fuck. Okay, this is some deep shit. And the character, like the character that you play as, her backstory opens up, because at first you think there's no backstory to her. She's just some chick that you're playing as, but there's a deep backstory, and it adds so much to the game. If you do get this game, I highly recommend that you get the version that comes with the art book, because the art book explains even more about her. Do not read the art book until after you've played the game, otherwise you will spoil the fuck out of the game and you'll spoil the biggest plot twist. But reading through the art book, and it's a very, very beautiful art book, is like, it's got a whole backstory and stuff that adds more to this character and shares more about dying and death, and that it doesn't have to be a sad thing, and how different people react to death and how different people respond to the fear of death. Some people run away from it. Some people are very stoic and they face it. Some people embrace it with love. Some people, in their final moments or as they're starting to get old and die, they will give lots of love to other people. Some people become very belligerent and snappy and unkind because they're scared. And so this game is probably the most realistic depiction that I've ever seen of death and people's fear of death. It's really, really, really heartfelt and really beautiful. You can see the score there. Overwhelmingly positive is the score. It's a really good fucking game. Really good. So I highly recommend that as well if you've got about 50 hours to sink into it. Again, it starts off quite slow, but maybe 75% into it, you get this huge plot twist. And if you buy the art book as well, which you can just buy as a DLC, you get even more conversations about death, even more exploration of death, and that it can be a beautiful thing. So that is your fear of death speaking, my friend, when you say, I have this odd sense of urgency, or I'm running out of time. That means you are scared of death, and that's okay. Most people aren't. Play that game if you want to. Read some of the books that I suggested if you want to. But I promise you, you don't have to accomplish everything in the next 10 years or it will be game over. And something to think about, and I give this to all of my coaching clients. We have these conversations from time to time because everyone's scared of death. And so every couple of weeks or months, we will just have a big conversation in the coaching program about death and that it's coming. And one of the things that I say is, you will not get everything done before you die. None of you listening will get everything done before you die. You just won't. I know you think you will. I know you want to. I know you tell yourself it's a bad thing if you don't. I know you're scared of not getting everything done, but let's just put that out there right now. You will not achieve everything that you want to achieve before you die. Neither will I. How do I know that? Because even if you had infinite time on this planet, on this plane of existence, and you could live literally forever, like you were a god or something, there would be infinite things that you would want to try. Because what would happen is you'd try a whole bunch of stuff and then you would move the goalposts, or you would get curious, maybe is a kind of way of saying that, and you would be curious about the next thing to try. Maybe you'd want to try every restaurant on the entire planet. Maybe you'd want to try every adventure on the entire planet. Maybe you'd want to have sex with every person on the planet that wants to have sex with you. Maybe you would want to go deep with one person and explore them for a lifetime and get to know the inner workings of their brain and how they see the world and all of that beautiful stuff and build a beautiful connection. You'd want to go to every place on the planet, and then you'd want to go to every smaller place on the planet that you missed, and then every smaller place than that you missed, and you'd want to just keep diving down. You'd want to explore every hobby that you possibly could. If you had infinite time, you would want to do all the things that you right now don't even think about. Like, you know what? Maybe I want to try skydiving. You try that once and you're like, fuck, I want to get really good at skydiving. You go down that rabbit hole and you make 10,000 jumps and you dedicate 20 years to it. There is a movie that talks about this concept. And this is one of my favorite movies. I have watched this movie so many times. It is called Groundhog Day by Bill Murray. It's an old movie. It was made in like the 80s or 90s or something. And it is about a guy who wakes up every day and the same day repeats. And at first he's tripping balls a little bit and he's like, okay, this is a prank. But eventually he realizes, holy fuck, I can't escape this day. The same day just keeps playing on loop. He's stuck. And the whole point of the movie, I'll try not to spoil. Actually, I'm going to spoil it. Otherwise, I can't really have this conversation. So if you don't want me to spoil it, skip ahead probably like 3 minutes and then, you'll be spoiler free. If you haven't watched this, I highly recommend this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a really great movie. But he basically has to keep repeating the same day. And at some point he goes, fuck it, I'm stuck here anyway. I'm going to learn skills. And so he learns to play the piano like an absolute classical master because he's got time. He learns different skills. He learns ice carving. He learns just all these different things because he's got infinite time. He may as well. And there's actually a deeper layer to the movie that isn't really... You might not pick up on first watching of the movie, but if you've watched the movie multiple times, you'll kind of pick up on this. And I've watched this movie a lot of times. You'll start to think, wait, how long was he playing out this day? Because he's learning a lot of different skills. He must be in there for a really fucking long time. And if you Google it, people have run the numbers on how long they think or they estimate that he was stuck in that day. Given he learns French, he learns piano, he learns ice sculpting, he learns literally everything about every single person that lives in the small town that he's stuck in. He learns a hell of a lot about love. He learns a lot about the woman that he's romancing. He learns a lot about everything. And people have estimated that he was in there for like 30 or 40 years. Other blogs or articles that I've seen that talk about it say he was in there for like a couple of 100 years, and like given how many things he learned. And so that is very much a good movie or a good story about the fact that even if you had infinite time, you'd spend quite a lot of it just based on little things that you wanted to learn. This guy, spent supposedly 30 to 40 or maybe more years just learning French, piano, and ice sculpting and learning about other people. How many years do you think it would take you to learn every possible thing that you might ever want to try or learn on this planet? Again, probably an infinite amount of time. And so you might think, okay, if I had infinite time, then yeah, I could explore everything on the planet. I could explore infinite things and explore everything in the universe. Like, I would eventually be able to do it. I just wish I had more time and then I could do everything. No, because what would happen is some of those things that you learned and explored, you'd want to do twice or 3 times or 5 times or multiple times because you'd really enjoy them. And we love to go, we're creatures of habit. We love to explore something that we've already explored. We like to come back to it later. And so there's actually more than infinite things for you to explore and try and learn and do. Even if you had infinite time, that still wouldn't be enough. You'd still be making the choice, even with your infinite time, to not do other things. Plus, the world and the universe and all of that would be constantly changing over that infinite timescale. And so there'd be even more stuff for you to go back and explore. So even if you were some magical being that had infinite time, you still wouldn't have enough time to explore everything that you might ever want to explore. And so with that in mind, you are never going to do everything that you want to do. You're never going to explore every place on the planet or every person on the planet or every hobby or explore the depths of your mind to the level that you'd like to. And so we are limited by the amount of time that we have on this planet. That is an inevitability. It is a guarantee. And so this sense of urgency of like, I have to accomplish everything, the word everything there should tell you that that's your ego speaking. It's the ego part of us that says, I can get everything done. No, you can't, little ego. And I'm not saying this commenter have a little ego, but I'm speaking directly to the ego here. Little ego, you cannot get everything done. I know you want to accomplish everything in the next 10 years or before you die, but you can't. And accepting that fact brings a lot of peace. Most people spend their entire life fighting that fact. And they say, I can do it all. I can become a multi-billionaire. I can have sex with infinite women. I can get, beautiful multiple wives. I can lift huge numbers. I can get less than 10% body fat. I can change the world. I can become an entrepreneur as well. I can become a philanthropist. I can become world famous. No, you can't. Let that sit for a little while. You're not going to do all of that. All of you listening, you're not going to do all of that. Or if you do, you'll then invent the next thing that you haven't done. You're not going to be able to do everything. Life is a series of choices. When one door opens, another one closes. We can only focus on one thing at a time. And generally speaking, with self-improvement and goals, you can only really dedicate yourself to 1, 2, maybe 3 big goals at a time. If you dedicate yourself to 50 goals at once, you're just half-assing everything. You're dividing your focus between 50 different things. You're scattered and you're not really making much progress. So to make progress, you dedicate yourself to 1 or 2, again, maybe 3 big goals at once so that you can really dedicate yourself to them and focus and make improvements. And that by its very nature, the very nature of focus, means that you're picking a couple of things that are your priority and you're dedicating yourself to them, which means that the other things that you're not picking, you might only make a tiny bit of progress or maybe not very much progress at all because you're focusing on the things that are at the top of your priority list, your main focuses right now. And so that literally means you might not accomplish everything. The word everything there is what's causing you unhappiness. If you instead say, let me humble myself, and that's why I say the ego is having a field day when it says, I got to do everything I can before I die. No, little ego, a little bit of humility and saying, okay, I am a human being with a limited amount of time, a limited amount of focus, and only a set amount of willpower, motivation, dedication, discipline each day. Let me do a little bit each day and dedicate myself to taking a baby step forward every day and not worrying so much about doing everything or getting it all done before I die. Just do a little bit, enjoy the present moment, stop worrying about the future and obsessing about it, and just be here now. Be grateful for the journey, take a little baby step forward, do a tiny little bit, and it all adds up over time. You are allowed to be happy now. Again, I said this at the start, rather than when you get everything done or accomplish everything. The reason that this commenter and anybody else who feels like this, which is most people, by the way, this comment, the reason I'm doing this video is because this is how most human beings feel or think. It's their framing of the world. I have to get everything done, and happiness is found out there. Love is some external thing that I need to get. That is what is causing you unhappiness and stress. It's this pressure to get everything done, and it's this lie or this story that we tell ourselves, this sweet little lie, that if I can get the external things, then I'll be happy. No. You be happy now while you get some of those external things. So You say, I have my 40s, 50s, and beyond to improve and achieve goals. Maybe. Or maybe you fucking die in your 40s. Imagine if you found out that you had cancer in your late 20s. Imagine next year you get a diagnosis that says you have cancer. Would you then say, holy fuck, I didn't get my 40s and my 50s, therefore I'm going to be unhappy? Or would you say, okay, I only have a little bit of time left. I'm going to be happy now. That's what most people who get cancer or a death diagnosis, I'm going to die in the next year or 2 years or 6 months. They choose to focus on the now and they be happy now. You are allowed to do that now. And maybe you live into your 40s or 50s, but that is you just procrastinating your happiness. You're still doing it. You're procrastinating. Why don't you be happy now? Because there's no guarantee that you have your 40s or your 50s or beyond. I know that's a sweet little lie that we tell ourselves sometimes. I even say that in content sometimes. I'm like, you have the rest of your life. But notice I say you have the rest of your life. I don't know how long the rest of your life is going to be. And so focus on the happiness now. Focus on joy right now. You don't have to delay your happiness. But I promise that you're doing a good job. Let's be very clear. This commenter, Mr. Mongfin01, I've seen you come to some of my live streams, my friend. You're doing a really good job. I really appreciate you opening up, and I think it's very courageous of you to be this brave. I think it's fucking incredible of you to be this vulnerable. I think you're doing an amazing job. Let's focus on that happiness in the moment right now, that gratitude. Again, everything that I put in my Play to Win video course is about gratitude and how to be enjoying the present and all of that. So I will leave a link in the description below to that video course. You can pay $1 for that if you would like. If you found this helpful and you would like to pick my brain a little bit or have more of these deeper conversations, anybody listening, you can jump on a $200 coaching call with me, provided you've never done one before. Those are strictly one per person because I'm offering them at a crazy discount rate. And so I don't want to be swamped, with multiple of them by the same person. So one of those per person. I'll leave a link to that. I also have a big hardcore 12-week coaching program where, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, the vast majority of the stuff that we talk about is this kind of stuff. It's not so much about goals. Those are almost like secondary. What I'm doing with each coaching client is to show you that you're allowed to be happy now. I've said this to many of my coaching clients. It's basically in the first video that you watch when you sign up for the coaching program. I say the entire point of the coaching program is to show you that everything is okay and everything is going to be okay. In other words, you are allowed to enjoy and be present in this current moment and be grateful for it. This moment is allowed to be enough because it is. This moment right now is complete. It is all encompassing. It is perfect exactly as it is. People will argue with that and say, no, it's not. There's wars right now. It's not perfect. I'm not happy right now. It's not perfect. I don't have enough money right now. It's not perfect. Reality in this moment is perfect. You just tell a story that it's not, but you're allowed to tell the story that this is enough. This is allowed to be enough if you say that it is.